Right, guys, welcome. Let's get straight to it. So I'm just going to do my design here. Just a bit about the piece. It's a bit of a prototype of something much larger than what I do in the future, but I want to make this really nice, and it's for me dad. So watch to the end, and you'll see exactly what I'm making, what it's going to be for, and let me know your thoughts. I love it, really, to be honest. I think it's really smart. It'll last forever. So anyway, keep watching, guys. So I'm just doing a bit of marking out. Nothing special, but I just want to bring in a bit of, like, you know, where I said in previous videos, I want to, you know, get a bit of hand tools going, you know, practice with chisels, that kind of stuff, just to build my skill level up. So it's just slowly build that into it. So these boards I'm using are pine, but they're all a bit bowed and warped. I think the weather's sort of got to them, and maybe the way I've been storing them. So here I'm just using jigsaw, and now I'm using the coping saw to cut that. So again, just practicing with hand tools. This is nowhere near perfect, and the whole purpose of this project is about seeing the ins and outs of the piece I'm going to make eventually, what sort of designs I want to go for, what sort of looks right. So a smaller version of anything's not a bad thing to do. But I still want this to look really nice. I still want to do my real best with it. So I'm making a feature of the sort of joins there. I mean, them sort of were a little bit loose, to be fair. So I've glued and screwed them, and I'm just making sure everything's square. So where I've glued and screwed them there, I can make a little bit of a feature of it by adding sort of plugs in there. So, you know, I've turned a negative into a positive there, in my opinion. So I'm just ripping some more boards up now with 45-degree cuts there. And this was my first thing. What sort of doors do I put? You know, I've gone with this for now. I just had an idea in my head, but maybe in the future with the bigger version of what I make, I'm going to do something slightly different. But the way these turned out, I was really happy with. So guys, like I say in all my videos, thank you for watching. You're all absolutely amazing. And you guys that are watching and not subscribed, please can you just hit the subscribe button? It'll help my channel massively. You know, if you like the channel, subscribe. If you don't subscribe, that's up to you. But if you do like watching what I do, please hit the subscribe button, because it just gets my video out there to more people. And it helps my channel grow, and it's all about authenticity and everybody helping each other. So here's where I'm just going in to sort of some of the gaps and that kind of thing with glue. I'm filling them with glue, and I'll sand over it to sort of fill them gaps. So it's like a bit of a filler, and it works really, really well. Now, something I forgot to do at the beginning was put a rebate in. So you know, because I've got it all put together now, I've got to do it this way with, you know, rebate, you know, router a rebate in, then go into the corners with a chisel, which is good, because even though I made a mistake, I'm going to learn a bit more with the chisel. So there's my new sled, my spline jig sled thing. And because I know that spline jig's 100% accurate, that sort of panel there that I'm putting the spline into, it's telling me it's out a little bit, just ever so slightly, so I can sort of plan to sort that out. I'm just cutting some splines here out of old bits of mahogany. Plenty of glue. And just tap them in. Don't overdo it, just tap them in. There should be a nice snug fit there. Now, I've made loads of mistakes on this project, if I'm perfectly honest, but like I say, this is all about learning. And what I have noticed about sort of the really good woodworkers and that kind of stuff, they'll make a smaller version of anything. Look at the construction, you know, the proper professional people, and then they'll work out all the pitfalls, all the little things that crop up that you don't expect, and then they've got it all to hand, haven't they? They've got that in the toolkit then for when they go and make the proper thing. So more about this project. It's a cabinet, a small tabletop cabinet that's going to be a whiskey cabinet. Now, what I have a collection of whiskey myself. I don't, like I say, I don't drink, but I collect whiskey. And I need, in the house, I need somewhere to store it properly. So this is going to be like a prototype of that. But to make it sort of good, my dad he loves his whiskey. He likes to drink a whiskey. And so I'm going to give him this cabinet and get him a couple of bottles of whiskey. And he can have this, but I'm going to make it as nice as I can. But it's all about learning. So I'm just going in there with a chisel. Now I've got one of these little corner chisel things. And you know what? I didn't like using it. I found it a bit of an hindrance there. Maybe it's I'm doing something wrong. I just prefer to go back in with a chisel and do it. So is it the right word properly? I don't know. But, you know, I preferred using the chisel rather than that little chisel corner thing. So more ripping down here. Now I'm just checking for stability here. Because the doors open outways and it's sort of a slimish cabinet, I don't want the doors, when you open the doors, sort of the whole cabinet to sort of tip over. So I'm just building that into the base here at the moment, so to get that right. And it's something that can be really overlooked sometimes. So just, there's the base. I've got my dimensions and it just looks a bit bland. I need to put a bit of something to it. So I'm going to add my freehole design to it. Just take it nice and easy with pillar drill. Just tidy everything up. And you guys that have sent me in some of your jobs that you've done and makes, I have got them. I'm not being thingy. I'm just, as I'm planning my videos, I will put them into the videos, you know, pictures of stuff you've made and stuff like that. So don't think I forgot about you, because I haven't. So for the door panels and the back, I'm just using plywood. I don't know what sort of plywood this is. It's hardwood ply, but I don't know what species of sort of facing it's got on it. But it's got like quite a nice pattern on it. So I've got that. Something I've learned from previous projects, and now I've got them fitting as they should. So I'm just going over it again, and I'm just sort of giving that the insides there just a slight chamfer. And again, I'm just going over gaps with some glue, and then I'll sand over it. This is where I take my hat off to, you know, real good quality joiners and carpenters. They can just do things like this and they don't have this problem. But they must have been in this position at some point. So, you know, don't feel disheartened if you've got a few gaps and a few joints. Sometimes there's ways round stuff to make it looking sort of acceptable. And it's all a hobby, it's all learning. I do like that grain pattern on the plywood. But I don't know what it is. I ain't got a clue. So I'm just taking it easy here, just going to brad nail these in. And then just a quick sand over everything just to make sure, getting all them bits of fluff off and everything. Now here's the paint department. She's painting the base for me. Well, staining the base, that is. And she's using the spirit base stain that we always use. Goes on really easy. This is her choice. I'm leaving the top unstained, and she just wanted to put a bit of contrast. She said a bit of contrast would work really well with it. So let's see at the end. So I'm just sanding everything back now, and I've just cut little 45, not 45s, I think the angles worked out at 22.5 at the backs on them, on the stand there, if you can see the angles. So I'm just screwing that all together just to give it a bit of more security. I could have just glued that together, it would have been perfect. But in my head, I just wanted to put these screws in, make sure it sort of lasts, sort of thing. So I'm using 35mm torque screws here. And I'm just going to just lacquer the base. Just a clear acrylic lacquer. So it just has a single shelf in, nothing special here. Just enough cut of wood. And what I found with this was, because that wood was a bit warped, it was a bit difficult just to do that shelf. And there's a mistake I made where the screw went in, it went into a knot. So, you know, it just sort of blew out there. So the hardware I got, I wanted to put these hinges in the door, if that makes sense. You know what I mean. But I had to externally mount them because of the type of hinges they was and where the countersink thing was. I wanted to use my chisel and sort of chisel out sort of, you know, the openings for the hinges, but I couldn't do it. Whether it was I was doing something wrong or looking at the hinges wrong, I don't know. But you know, next one and another one I have, the hinge setup's going to be different. So this is something that I've learned. And just a simple sort of latch for the door, which these are black and the hardware's black, so it'll sort of contrast with that base. So where I screwed that internal shelf in, I can make a bit of a feature here with some plugs. It just adds, you know, you put in a screw in, I'm using the plugs, obviously to cover the screw heads, but just to give the cabinet just that little bit of extra something. And just trim any excess away. And everything gets sanded with a 150 grit. I go over everything. Now this is a pigmented hard wax oil. I get this from a company called MAXXT UK. If I can remember, I'll put a link to their website in the description. It seems to work really well, to be honest. And what it's supposed to do, it's not like got a colour in it as such, but when you put it onto sort of clear woods like this, you know, sometimes you can put finishes on and it can turn them a bit yellow or a bit orange. This is supposed to stop that. So it does get 2 coats of this in the end. Just keep, when you're applying the coats, just make sure you just take some excess away. Give it a couple of minutes and just wipe excess away. So after it's all dried and everything, just go over it with the brown paper bag just to smooth it all out, get rid of any sort of like them little nibs and stuff. And this makes it super smooth. A lot of you know about this already anyway. Just take your time here, just 5-10 minutes going over the old piece with that, and it just makes a big difference. Catch works nice. You can't see it in the video, but at the bottom of the door is a slight warp on the door, but I can get away with this. There's something I can do there. I've ordered some them neoprene. What, I can't even say it, but the magnets. Yeah, I've put a bit of Velcro at the bottom there just to keep the doors shut at the bottom. But I'm going to put magnets there, which will pull that door in a bit more. Some strong magnets. Can't really notice it, but I know it's there. You probably can just about see it. So let me know what you think of that cabinet. But I'm going to be making a big version of this at some point. Not yet, but, you know, I've got all my notes down, all the little flaws and things that went wrong, what went right. So this is for my dad. So, you know, he's going to enjoy that. He likes to drink a whiskey. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think about it. I absolutely love it. And I think that base just sets it off. Maybe what I could have done is put like another thing on the top, like a bit of decoration maybe, that sort of ties in with the base. But the black base, black hardware, I think Shelley was right there, to be honest. Yeah. It's scope for thought. I like that. I think it's nice. I've learned a lot from this. It was a tough, but I learned. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and on to the next one.